What you want to do is find this raving fan base and drive them to your site for remarketing purposes.
Welcome to WP-Tonic, episode 40, and this is part 2 with John Loomer. It's all about Facebook. I think you're really going to enjoy this episode. So without further ado, let's get right into the conversation.
I created my profile, my Facebook page, my Twitter account, my YouTube, and all that stuff. And I didn't really know what I was gonna do. My Google Plus account, everything. Yeah, Pinterest. I mean, you name it, it's out there. It's not that I ended up spreading myself too thin, but you have to experiment to figure out, where your audience is, where you can make the most impact. I'm not convinced that Facebook is too competitive because, again, the ability to target.
Yes.
So let's say you only have, $5 a day to spend or whatever it is. You start with just those people who have visited your site, for example, or on your email list. That could be a very small audience, but just focus on them, or just focus on driving those people to your site through targeting interests, similar interests, and whatnot. What you want to do is find this raving fan base and drive them to your site for remarketing purposes. I'm just not convinced that Facebook in particular, and really Twitter too, because now you have the remarketing abilities there. I think there's more of an argument almost that it's too competitive on Twitter because there is no algorithm. And like I had just a somewhat civil disagreement with somebody on Twitter today because, I get the typical comments from people.
You stun me that somebody could get into an argument on Twitter.
there was someone who
it would never happen, would it?
There was someone who commented to me about how Facebook reach is dying and how pretty much similar conversation, how you have to pay to reach your fans and all that. And that's completely untrue. The facts don't actually back that up. And by the way, how many people just viewed that tweet you just wrote?
Well, I just want to interrupt. I just loved your article on it really seemed to come from the heart when you made that article when people were really complaining about reach had been cut back, and you just kind of not tore into them, but say, look, guys and ladies, you've had a really good run here. And it's been really, really fantastic, and it still can be. But we are dealing with a company that is there to make money.
But it's not just there to make money. I think making money is secondary, though.
Yeah.
They have to create a good user experience in order to make money, right? So it's not that they don't care about making money, but they can't make that the first priority is making money at the expense of user experience, and then people won't use Facebook. Yeah. The evidence is there that what they do is proper for the algorithm, because how long has it been, and it continues to grow, and people are there at ridiculous rates every single day.
Mind-boggling rates.
It's silly. Whereas it's really, really difficult to keep that growth going.
Do you think it could be a substantial reason for the decline of America? The lack of profitability, because they're all on Facebook.
I don't know.
I don't know. So I've lost my train of thought there.
Well, I think because we're talking about reach, organic reach, and Twitter, Facebook, and whatnot. But my point being, like in Twitter with no algorithm, like if you're not in my last 4 tweets and you didn't tweet at me, I'm not going to see your tweet. You're buried in 2 seconds. Whereas on Facebook's trying to surface the stuff to me that I care about most. They really are. I know people roll their eyes about that, especially marketers. They really are. And because if they don't, then I'm not going to be on Facebook. So my feed is moving much more slowly, and the stuff I care about should be there. So am I like, I don't know. I mean, I know why, but we obsess over Facebook reach because Facebook tells us what it is. The truth is our Twitter reach is horrendous. And Google Plus is definitely no better. We for some reason look at Facebook and users on Facebook like being our email list where they're a stationary target. And like, if I throw this out there, it should reach everybody. And that's just ridiculous. Like, not everybody's on Facebook today. Not everyone was on when you posted it. Not everyone cares about your stupid stuff. And so if you want it to be a Twitter feed, it's going to be worse. If we had this many people, 1.4 billion or whatever people on Facebook for 30 minutes a day, posting crazy amounts of information with no algorithm, you complain about your reach now. The people who want to see your stuff would never see it because it'd be buried in a second. So yeah, that topic I get riled up really quickly.
Yeah, yeah. But I think it's a good point. I just think the two are really two very different animals. And what's worse is when people try and, what I say to people is for goodness gracious, don't use the things that you put on Twitter and then put them on Facebook. Because I say, you just peeve people off and it's a total different animal. I want to ask you, you did mention it, Google Plus. Why is it such a train wreck, John? Why you've got some of the smartest people in North America, and it's like seeing a slow motion death, isn't it? And they keep trying everything, but it just doesn't work. Do you think in the end they're just going to admit failure, or can they? Somebody said to me they can't let it go because they're losing too much data to Twitter and Facebook, and they don't have access to that data, and that's why they just won't let the beast go. Really, what's your feeling?
First of all, I think it's tough to say. I have a hard time saying it was a failure, and this is why. It's not their area of expertise. And ultimately what they're doing, I know Google Plus lovers who use it religiously hate this, but it is a copycat of Facebook. Let's be frank. That's what it is. And it's not as successful as Facebook. But look, if Facebook can't crack search though either. They haven't quite figured out search. Yeah. And Facebook's tried to copy so many things with apps that are just utter and complete failures, but they don't care. They do that. They create failures in order to learn from how it is people use things, and that's what happens when you have a lot of money. You just throw stuff around and experiment and all that stuff. I think maybe the mistake is that from the start, we looked at this, and maybe even Google looked at this. If it doesn't succeed, what a colossal mistake. Whereas I still think, even though I'm not someone who uses Google Plus really, I don't see it as a failure. It's just really hard for anyone to do more than their core competency really well.
Yeah, I think
business or an individual.
I just want to clarify there. I think I was a little bit unfair there. I think as a concept, the concept of circles was actually intellectually quite interesting, John. I think linking their business profile in this very vague way is a bit of a mess, and also. I think some of their ideas are really fantastic, but it was the implementation that has failed. It's like
honestly though, if it would have come out when Facebook did, I think they'd be fine. It's just a matter of why would I be here instead of Facebook? Because it's really the same thing when it comes down to it. It's just naming.
How about the search? I mean, everyone talks about Google search and. Right. Some of the other things that Google's doing, like the Google Hangout, for example. I mean, that supposedly helps your website, is driving stuff. For example, if you put your blog on your website and then push it up onto Google Plus, supposedly it helps the SEO.
Supposedly. They've also got rid of, what is it, where your user profile appears in search. If you are the author of a blog post and was connected to your Google Plus account, it used to show up with your image there in Google search results, and they killed that, which is kind of surprising to me.
And if you have a Google Mail or some other mails, they still have some interaction, which is pretty slick, where you can pull up, it'll populate all your information on the person's contact form.
I think it's great. I think Google Plus concept is great, but it's too similar to Facebook. So while yes, you have the photographers, you have really techie people, they have this niche of people it really, really appeals to.
Right.
But otherwise, why would you move from Facebook?
The baby boomer user, casual user who's not doing it professionally, it's not user friendly as Facebook. It's not as user.
Well, I mean, it's not even so much that. It's just that my friends are over here on Facebook. They're not on Google Plus. So they're basically the same thing otherwise, whether Google people use Google Plus, want to admit to that, it is, why should I be on there? So if it had come out 10 years ago, I think Google Plus would be a huge success. It's just, they're ultimately copying Facebook. That's really what it is. They're not offering something that's a hugely different that you can use in addition to. They really have to move from. The average user won't be using both Facebook and Google Plus. Yeah. It's,
Another one that's interesting about their CEO, and I think they are doing some interesting things, is LinkedIn. And obviously yesterday they bought lynda.com, and one of our panelists on our live show is one of the chief instructors on lynda.com. So he's going to be working for LinkedIn there. It was quite... so what's your feelings? Do you think... obviously, LinkedIn have been trying to... They've been trying a number of things, haven't they? But they do seem to want to become a social network. And they want to get people on there much more. Do you think they stand any chance? And what's your feelings about what they've been doing?
I feel like I am no longer LinkedIn's target audience because I'm an entrepreneur. I'm not ever going to look for a job ever again, hopefully. So, I don't see it as being like a resume that I need to make sure I keep updated. And in general, I hate LinkedIn. I really do. Because I even remember, like, in the beginning, that was one of the profiles that I would update, and like create a group and all that stuff. And I was trying to figure out my way. And going into those groups, like, oh my God, the spam and the crap and like all these people trying to connect to me that just, this is before I had any recognition at all where anyone even knew it. But there's just so much spam and people like spamming my inbox and like spamming these groups. And I hate LinkedIn. But so I guess I'm the wrong person to ask because I know it has value.
I think we move on quick.
Hey, Jonathan, real quick note. I think what we can do on this, we went over the 30 minutes. We do two episodes, 30 minutes apiece. If you don't mind, go another 15 minutes. I'll make 39 and 40 and make this 2 episodes in 2 weeks. It's a very good episode, John.
Yeah, I think, are you happy to continue for a bit?
15 more minutes?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, all right.
And if you don't mind, I'm going to sneak in one more question here on Facebook. Yeah, you talked about Google copying Facebook. What's Facebook doing with their online streaming, not streaming, but their clips right now, their video clips?
Well, I mean, Facebook for some time has had, I guess for the last year plus, they've at least been talking about it, the autoplay video. Now, in terms of actually be doing live streaming video, I mean, we've got nothing clear now. I mean, you can use plugins and whatnot to within your Facebook page to have like this live event. And I mean, Facebook does that for their live events. But is it something like in your news feed, this live event's going to start playing? That's not something that's there right now. But you got to think, I mean, it just goes hand in hand with their autoplay video that they're doing now. It's just the autoplay is an uploaded autoplay now.
Their video is unique, though. I mean, it's definitely competition to YouTube in some aspects, and YouTube is very successful.
You know, what's hilarious is like when Facebook announced autoplay video, man, it might have been a year and a half, 2 years ago. I don't even remember how long ago it was. First of all, I was skeptical, but everybody and their mothers are like, there's no way this is going to work. Everyone's going to hate it. I'm going to hate it. I already hate it and I don't even see it. And then it has been one of the biggest game changers. Because it's not what people were expecting, where it's like, oh, this video is just going to pop up and take over my screen and it's going to be sound and all that stuff. It's really pretty engaging. And so you go through your news feed, and like, I watch way more video than I ever used to as a result of it. Like, but I don't even click on a lot of it. I just like, I'll stop and I'll watch it. And that's one lesson that we need to make sure that video doesn't need sound to be to offer value.
It was implemented quite cleverly. They must have done a lot of research, and the things that were said about that were very similar in some ways to the things that were said about they weren't ever going to be able to work out mobile.
Oh God, that was so silly. And it was in early stages,
And it really came from a lot of established digiteria. You know, the kind of the tech news people, tech crunch. You know, it came from really people that should have known better, but they don't know. So another thing, you've changed your kind of product mythology, haven't you? Because you used to offer courses, precise courses that you used to sell, and in your recent posts, you said that you're getting away from that model. You were frustrated with it, and you're running a membership, ongoing membership.
Yeah.
What were the things that were frustrating you about, the kind of course structure, and you decided to go on to an online monthly membership kind
Right.
of
So, I mean, I think that the courses had a place in what I was in the growth of my business. So, a year and a half, 2 years ago, I launched my first course. It was eye opening, like the demand for that and how many I was able to sell, and it was awesome. And then a few months later, it was outdated, and I had to create another one. And I always have been over delivering, so I would create 60 total. Like my latest power is 3 sub courses, 60 total written lessons, 60 total videos, and it's a lot of information that is again quickly outdated. And which is good and bad being quickly outdated, in that it gives me something to do and reason for people to come to my site because they can't keep up. But scaling then, because ultimately what I see for myself is, as I want the business to grow, the ultimate dream is to work less and make more, but I guess be more efficient, really, more than anything. And I knew this model was out there to do a membership, but it just makes more sense based on the way things are constantly changing. So you can still buy courses from me. I will eventually shut them off because they'll be too outdated. But for my membership, what I'm doing now, so nothing changes if you're used to getting my free content, getting a blog post every week. I still write that blog post every week. But basically what I'm doing is and you'll see this if you're on my email list, if you read my blogs and get to the bottom, I will always write a related blog post that digs a little bit deeper that's for my members only. So I do a weekly blog post for those people, a weekly webinar for those people. They get huge discounts on. So instead of courses, I will do a workshop now, which is basically a 90-minute webinar every 2 months. If you're a member, you get it for $20. If you're a non-member, it's $147. So, I'm again trying to push people towards that membership. And so as a result, what we have here with this membership, and also there's a private Facebook group with it. What we have here is essentially an interactive training courses ongoing at all times. I don't have to worry about it being outdated. This weekly webinar is keeping you up to date on all the changes and everything you need to know. I'll have how-tos and all that stuff that would otherwise be shared in a course anyway. And it's more of like a real-time training course. And it just makes more sense for me than what I was doing before. And monthly, the other thing with my old model is that, I'd launch a new course and blow it out for a month and get all this revenue. And then I'd back off for a month, and my wife, who's also my accountant, looking at me like, where's the money? Because it's huge peaks and valleys as a result. Whereas if you've got a membership, you've got that strong foundation of this monthly recurring every single month.
It's something like recurring revenue, isn't it, John?
Yeah.
In your range, because I think, I do, you are our guest, but I wouldn't say this unless I believed it. I think some of your training material on the subject is some of the best. And you do put a lot of work into it. I know you do. But is there anything for the individual that's not a total newbie to Facebook or social media? They're not a total. They know a little, a fair bit, but they're looking. They want to ramp it up. They want to use advertise. They've built their They have people on their profile. They have done work on their page, but now they want to go into the world of advertisement. So they're not a marketer. They're not working for an agency. Is there things that you offer in your packages to guide somebody that wants to get a result through advertisement?
A couple of things I offer. I do the one-on-one as well.
Yes.
So, yeah,
that seems very good value, actually.
Yeah. So I've been taking on clients now for over a year, because that is, again, one of those things, trying to be more efficient. And when you take on clients, as you know, one single client can take up a ton of your time. And I'm trying to build up this online brand and all this stuff, and it takes away from that. So, but in place of that, now I'm doing these 45-minute Skype sessions where we share screens and we talk through your strategy and your obstacles. We can look at your ads and what's available. We can actually walk through, adding pixels to your site and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, that's one thing I would recommend. But otherwise, it's just, maybe it's a matter of reading some of the things that I read.
Yeah, because I actually think there's a gap. There's a lot of materials that tell you, how to set up your page, how, the fundamentals, you're really newbie. And then there seems to be a set of materials that, like what you delve in, that go into great detail, where you're a really hardcore advertiser and you're looking. But that in-between space, I was a little bit disappointed. Are there some online resources that you would recommend?
Actually, one reason, the time I first started thinking about moving away from training courses was late last year, where I kind of saw some writing on the wall that I heard that Facebook was going to start putting out some of this free material. They just started releasing these things during the last couple of weeks. So you can actually take a Facebook-sponsored training course now for free. That's more beginner-based, but they also have templates, ad templates, and things like that as well. They're actually a pretty decent resource to go through.
Are they?
Right now,
especially
that gap.
So they're definitely not like Google, because anything like any training material that comes from Google, it's unreadable, isn't it? I don't know who they've got right.
It's designed for brainiacs. Google's designed for brainiacs.
Well, and Facebook's was pretty poor before as well. And I mean, it's just all through the help center and incomplete often. But they're working hard.
Interesting.
I wish I could give you a link to it now. I could give it to you later. Maybe we could put it in the show notes. But yeah.
We haven't mentioned this, but we'll mention your website throughout the show. We'll put notes, links. It'll all be there.
Well, I think we've had a really good chat. Is there anything? Oh, I'd like to just finish with one last question.
Sure. I get a question too.
Yeah, all right.
We have about 8 minutes.
Yeah, right. Are there anything that you feel that we're not aware of I'm not going to go any further than, let's say, the next 12 months, but are there any things that you feel in your gut that the direction which Facebook are going, and do you think they're going to bring anything to the table that might surprise us?
I don't have any super secret.
You must have. You must have.
I signed that NDA. No, I mean, really, the progression of Facebook just tends to fall into 4 buckets. Hopefully I don't forget these 4 buckets now as I go through them. But mobile, I mean, it's moving more and more and more to mobile every single day. So expect everything that they do to be focused on that, continuing going forward. Video, as we've seen. So is it going to be like a Meerkat type of thing where they're going to do live streaming in the news feed? But that's clearly a focus for them now. Measurement, that is like when they released Atlas, and they've been talking about some of these holes in measurement between a mobile device and cookies and all that kind of stuff. So I think that's going to be a focus going forward. The measurement's going to get better, and targeting will continue to get even better. That's always been one of Facebook's biggest strengths, especially over the last few years, is ability to target. And as they collect more and more data, and they've got this mobile ad network as well, which really hasn't been blown out yet, that's going to improve inventory. Things are just going to get better for the marketer, in my opinion, as long as the user experience remains good and users can continue to be there.
That's great. Your question, Bill?
Wow, that's a lot of information. Hey, first of all, for our listener out there, we know JohnLoomer.com, JohnLoomer.com, and on Twitter the same thing, John Jon Loomer. That's how you find it. Real easy to find.
Yep.
I just want to say you have an absolute gorgeous website. The simplicity, the functionality of it, it's just really, really good. But
just Genesis framework, by the way.
Yeah, I'm a big Genesis fan. Jonathan has found the light and it's converted over. Yeah, thanks to me, the newbie. the market
I
guy.
was a little bit negative about Genesis, but I've been converted and I'm doing my new stuff in Genesis.
Yeah, I've been working at 3 basic starter packages for like the blogger, not the blogger, but the podcaster, so they can have a just simple Genesis framework like you. Not simple. Yours is gorgeous. I know how much work
it is simple though. It's Parallax Pro and really easy to put together. Yep.
Beautiful site. I'm sure you work on a lot yourself too.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much the vast majority of the work on the site is me. I mean, I've got someone who does the hosting. Right. I'm not a designer, so I get a designer who creates images for me that I put on the site and whatnot. But
you understand your site. You're not going to have someone steal it. I can't tell you how many folks I meet who don't control their domain, don't have the basics. They got to understand the basics of WordPress. But that's another issue, and we'll have you back on a couple other shows. Sure. But the question I had is, I have a unique situation right now. My cousin has created a April Fool's joke that had 10 million, 11 million, or 12 million now since the 2nd of April views on YouTube. What do we do to capture that, to hook into that? Is there any way of taking that 12 million hits and doing something with it? What would you do if you were us?
If it was that good, you should also upload it into Facebook.
It is. It has 12 million. It's about equal in Facebook, 12 million in Facebook.
Okay. So do you also promote it?
No.
Yeah. I mean, look, what are you going to do with that? I don't know what the business is and how that's related.
There's no business really. I mean,
well, so if you have this, if this is the type of thing that they want to do in the future, it's related to that April Fool's joke in some way. I hope there's a website related to it. When you upload that Facebook video, you could have a call to action button to learn more about the behind the scenes. That's one thing you could do with it immediately. Like, who knows what you're going to do with this, if it's going to become a business or not. Create a website just for that April Fool's joke where you just talk about all the behind the scenes and how it went together and all that. So you got a call to action button on the Facebook video that drives them back to the website, or then they're added to this website custom audience. And then you could even say, hey, I don't know what we're going to do with this, but subscribe and stay in the loop for
get the email. That's it. That's great advice. That's worth I really appreciate that. That's a tremendous advice. I've been thinking about what to do with it, and you just told us what to do. Simple.
Could be wrong though.
He gives no guarantees. Thank you so much, John, for coming on the show. It's been a real pleasure. I think you've given some good advice, and you give some. Facebook is a complicated beast. There's
Well, hope you enjoyed this episode with John Loomer, Jonathan Denwood, and myself, Bill Conrad. Now for a quick commercial from our sponsors. Yep, our sponsors are Jonathan Denwood and WP-Tonic, and MailRite, and me, Bill Conrad, and New Media Gold. Jonathan has his SaaS product. That's software as a service. And of course, that SaaS product is mail-right.com. So go on over to MailRite and pick up the free service, which is really nice, and give us your feedback. Also, Jonathan makes some really nice web pages, some high-end ones. He can do just about anything. And last week I said his prices start at $10,000. Well, I was wrong. They start around $3,000, but they can go up from there, and Jonathan can do, like I said, just about anything you need to do with any type of WordPress-based website. For me, I have New Media Gold. And the purpose of New Media Gold is really educational, but we also set up your framework on Genesis for your website. So it's a DIY concept. It gets you to understand what web pages are all about. It's got some excellent training embedded into the websites. So you really learn WordPress inside and out. If you're a podcaster, it's really all you need. It even will work for a politician in a campaign. Well, that's a long enough commercial for today. We'll see you back next week. And what we're going to do is we're going to dig into Facebook a little bit deeper and go and analyze what some of our guests have brought in front of us. Again, thank you for tuning in to WP-Tonic. Aloha.